it's almost like there's not an echo, but it's quite loud acoustic. An echo?
A what?
Echo?
3 times there, everybody. Thank you very much. Boom.
I fell into the trap.
Sorry. My dad used to do that to me as a kid. Whenever I used to say like parrot or echo or anything that repeats itself. So now I make sure to get other people.
Perfect.
On podcasts.
Back to the pod.
So there's a bit of an echo on this, is there?
I'm not going to repeat this. We're not going again.
Hello, welcome back to an episode of Kickpoint, the Golf Gear Show. Thank you for joining us and for your company for another week of equipment chat. My name is Dan, and for the last time in this little run, I'm joined by Sam Diath. Hello, Sam.
Hi, Dan.
How are you?
Good. You?
Great.
Nothing has changed since you last asked me that question.
No, because we film these in one day and ultimately not a lot happens outside of us just talking to each other. So, but for the folk at home, it's been a whole week. How was your week?
Yeah, we'd love to know.
Email us, kickpointpodcast@futureset.com with how your week was. We got a new camera set up. Johnny, the producers, bought us. What did you say, Johnny? You're now closer to the conversation.
You're involved. More involved.
I didn't pop enough blackheads today for this.
No.
You're way too in my grill here, but hopefully you can see more of the nice set behind me. I think my sticker board is now getting more prominence, which is great. Johnny's nodding away. So yeah, welcome closer to the conversation. And speaking of which, now I'm closer to you. You're going to have to listen to me here. If you're watching on YouTube, that's a bit aggressive, I'm going to point. If you're watching on YouTube, could you subscribe, please? If you haven't already, I've seen loads of you have, and thank you if you already have. It really supports the channel, but it helps us grow if you just click that little subscribe button. If you're enjoying our content and our company, if you're listening, hello, you can't see how close these people are to me because you're listening. And that's also fine. If you can review us on your podcast platform of choice, that goes down really well. Sam, we've had a fun couple of weeks, haven't we, you and I? Fairways, hybrids. What are you diving into for us this week? Because your other area of expertise
is drum roll. Putters.
Didn't like that. Specifically, we're going to just do zero talk, I think. Because I think I promised maybe we'd do loads of putters last week, but there is so much stuff. Sorry, a noise off in the background, and that's fine. And that's fine, isn't it? I said we'd do loads of putters, but these guys we've got down here, it's quite a dense, meaty conversation we can have about this.
I think we would need like 3 weeks worth of the pod to go through putters.
Putters.
I feel like breaking it down, especially into a really relevant category at the moment.
This is the hot one, right?
This is, everyone's just talking about it, aren't they?
Specific, and Joe, he's away this week again. For those who don't know, he injured his back and couldn't make it on this shoot this week. But it's been great to have Sam on and talk about his area of expertise. Joe likes L.A.B, hence the swear jar here.
Likes L.A.B is an understatement.
He loves L.A.B.
Actually, he will counteract this argument.
He'll hate us saying this,
he will, because he insists that he doesn't necessarily love L.A.B. He likes the idea behind the tech. And so
but his favourite brand in this space is L.A.B, and that's fine. Yeah,
exactly.
And that's fine. I think, you game one.
Safe
we'll come on to that in a bit. It's a safe space. Yeah. But we're bringing in more of the brands who have tried this zero talk idea. We're going to talk about the concepts, which one's executed the best, and all of that stuff. We've also got an Ask the Pod from Luke Withy or Withy? Probably Withy. Could be Withy. WH. Yeah, could you call him Luke, couldn't you? Luke from, I don't know where, Luke. Where are these people from, Sam? I need to know this thing.
Where you're from,
so
Luke.
Ask the Pod will be coming up a little bit later as well. I'll plug everything I need to. Follow us on Instagram. Kickpoint Golf on Instagram. Follow us on TikTok now. We're over there. And that's it, Sam. That's good. Can I talk about your hoodie very quickly?
Sure thing. What would you like to talk about?
The colour. Really like it. Yeah? I don't see many garments of that colour.
Thanks. I don't know. What do you call it? Burnt orange?
Yes, I don't mind that.
Is it peach?
It could be peach. I'd worry that if you've been on holiday for a while and you tanned up a bit, from far away, that would look like you're not wearing anything.
Just topless.
Yeah, it looked like you're topless. There was a man on my golf course.
2 white strands around my neck. Like I'm just wearing a shoelace.
Just wearing a shoelace around your neck and nothing else is frolicking across the golf course. I saw someone like that once at my golf club who was wearing like a tanned sweater. From far away, I thought this old bloke had just lost his mind. It was just topless around full
-2. He had a bobble hat on and that was it.
But I do like a nice little Travis Matthew number.
Thank you. Yeah, it's very cozy. Shout out Travis Matthew.
Shout out Travis Matthew. Makes some very nice stuff indeed. Right, enough small talk, Sam. Let's do zero talk putters.
Please, let's get into it.
Again, for those who don't know, we split up all our equipment testing at Golf Monthly. I do all the soft goods. We all become little experts in our area. You and Joe split the hardware. And another one of your categories, along with fairways and hybrids, which in the last 2 weeks, if you want to check that out, is putters. This must be quite a fun category to test.
It is, yeah. I'm a self-confessed putter nerd as well.
So you a chopper and changer anyway.
Yeah, I'm a tinkerer to an extent. This taking on this category as a tester has broadened, my horizons.
Yeah.
I typically have always played like a blade style putter, and I like it naked.
Where the hell did that come from?
Make of that what you will.
Bro's got ADHD, just thought of something else entirely different.
By naked, of course, I mean no sight lines, no sight dots. The terminology is naked for those unfamiliar.
Is that actually it? I've never heard that in my life.
Yeah,
I like my putter naked.
Yeah.
Is it? Well, I like mine fully clothed and wrapped up like it's winter. I need as much stimulus on there as possible just so I can keep that thing in a straight line.
There you go. So
you like
we
it
all
naked.
like something different, don't we, Dan?
We do. It's the beauty of the world, isn't it?
It's been a weird theme of people being clothed or items being clothed or
I know.
unclothed.
What's going on here today?
We're a few minutes in and it's an aggressive start.
So you were a naked blade before.
Naked blade guy. Big
these are almost the opposite of that. There's a lot going on here.
Yeah.
So let's talk more broadly about zero torque putters for a minute before we get stuck into each individual model we've got here. What's your thought on A, the technology behind it, and B, why it's become so trendy, why it's one of the hottest topics in golf at the minute?
Yeah. So the technology behind it essentially is that the shafts are essentially placed directly through the center of gravity, providing zero torque, basically minimal face resistance and rotation, and therefore the face essentially should stay square to your path relative throughout your stroke. Now, the reason why they're so popular, to be totally honest, is more of a marketing ploy and standpoint, and fair play to L.A.B Golf, because let's be honest, they're the guys who have pioneered this, side of putting, and
they've made it cool, right?
Exactly. Like we've talked about this, off the pod, but they've made it sexy. They've made zero torque putters a thing, and that's broadly through marketing, but also the design of them. They don't, the Odyssey Joe, our beloved Joe, who
is not dead,
is not with us anymore. This is not his ashes. This is in fact just his jar. He loves, lie angle balance, this new tech, and he has been using the Odyssey number 9 for years now, and that came out, I don't even know how many years ago.
That big toe up thing he uses.
Yeah, so Odyssey number 9 toe up.
12?
Yeah, I reckon
Older?
so. Yeah.
Yeah, 12, 13 years old?
I'd say at least, yeah. And so same principle, it's not center shafted, but the way the hosel design works is that the shaft essentially runs through the center of gravity. It's placed directly on top of it, essentially. And they were the original guys, but it was so different to any other putter on the market back then. And they didn't look, Joe won't mind me saying this because he doesn't think it looks great either, but it works.
No, it looks, the putter isn't great. He looks pretty quite clumsy over it, but he's also an unbelievable putter, one of the best I've ever played golf with.
And so
they just didn't, you reckon this was a thing, they were testing the waters out all this time ago, but weren't quite ready to put all their chips in, as it were, and really market it as L.A.B has done. This is all that L.A.B Golf do, is make zero torque lying or balanced putters.
And that's what makes it easier to shout about when it's the only thing you do.
Yeah.
If you're the ones going out there saying you're the specialists, and that's all you make, then it's a lot easier for people to trust and believe in that, rather than, let's say, Odyssey, let's be honest, are probably the biggest putter brand out there besides Scotty Cameron.
I think, according to my decor behind me, they're the number one putter on tour.
Exactly. Apparently. So, and they have been for some time.
Right.
And the thing is, despite them being the number one putter brand on tour, in terms of individual models, obviously there's a huge amount of models they produce. And if they come out with something that's kind of a bit out there, then you might get the odd bit of traction from the odd pro who wants to try something different, but it's really hard to sell that to everyone.
Correct.
When L.A.B that's the only thing they do. It's the only thing they've got to sell.
Yeah.
And obviously Sam Hahn, CEO, of L.A.B Golf, he's fully in on this, and he's gone to town with the advertisement, and through, everyone's probably seen on social media the likes of the revealer that they use. And Yeah, the technology makes sense. It's a putter designed to work with you rather than against you. So.
Exactly. And Joe's always been saying that it's going to change the way perhaps putting strokes are taught. We've always thought about some people have a natural arc, some don't. We shouldn't really put it with an arc anyway. Why are you having the face rotate anyway? It started all these conversations in people's head and when they're shopping for putters about what the putting stroke is and what the putter should be doing for you. And that's all fun. As equipment nerds, this is good stuff for us, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's good fodder. So, another point as well is like all the tour take up. It's like all the tour take up. It's Fowler, Adam Scott. I've run out of names. Help me out.
I mean, you've got like Lucas Glover went on a run to get into the Ryder Cup last year. He won like 2 in 3 events or something with one of the labs. And you got Zalatoris, who was notorious for his like
awful stroke,
putting stroke.
Gave me the heebie-jeebies.
Exactly, yeah. And he's obviously switched into that, and
a lot of live guys have them. I think.
Yeah, I think there's a decent
good traction.
It's a strange one. There's a decent amount of tour presence, although they're certainly not putting putters in the hands of the top 20 in the world, straight up, right? But I've talked about this technology before with different putter fitters and putter makers, and it's one of those that the thing is, a lot of the guys who are the top 20 in the world, let's say, they're there for a reason, and it's because they're very, very good with the clubs that they currently use. And for an example I've compared this to is Tiger Woods. And there was a thing that came out a while ago, and I think it was Charlie Woods at the PNC talking about how he hooks putts, and he was trying to read a putt for Tiger, taking into the fact that Tiger hooks a putt. He's got a lot of face rotation on his famous Scotty Cameron blade, and he opens and closes that face, and he relies on timing, but he almost draw hooks putts, and so he sees them a lot of the time coming in from the right, and hence why I don't know this for a fact, but I would imagine his make percentage on a right to left breaking putt that falls right to left is higher than a left to right because it goes with the way he likes to see putts. So if he put one of these in play, these want to stay square the whole time. So maximum face resistance, least rotation.
Yeah.
He would probably still set this up right of target in the idea that in his head, the putter is going to close over and he'll be able to hook that putt. Chances are, I mean, we are talking about Tiger Woods, let's be honest, he'll make it work. He will find a way very quickly of sinking a putt. But for the most part, when people putt with a lot of face rotation, put one of these in play, depending on which side they naturally aim and push or pull a putt, they're probably going to hit a lot of putts dead straight where they're aiming. And that's just going to take a bit of getting used to. And that's why I don't think we've probably seen an immediate take up. They're still a relatively new brand as well, right?
Right. I feel like we've only had this conversation for 6 months.
Yeah, I think they've been out for a few years, but there just hasn't been that started,
isn't it? Yeah,
presence about them. Yeah. So I think it will continue to grow. I think they're going to become a serious kind of force in the putter game and probably take up quite a bit of the market. I'd imagine the more models they've just released. We'll talk about it, but a new model here, where they've put an insert in for the first time.
So they've got so many other things they can do as well.
Yeah, there's a lot. Like, I mean, already the 4 models they've got out all look so different.
Yeah.
Got the big alien kind of DF3. You've got the Mez, which has kind of got that fang look to it. And then you've got a new kind of compact mid-mallet Oz. So they're going to keep growing. This zero torque space is going to keep growing. And it'll be interesting to see kind of, where it goes and who. It would be interesting to see the highest profile player who ends up putting
next guy in
who's the guy who's going to. Because once, let's be honest, once a top 5 player in the world starts using one,
they'll fall like dominoes.
Yeah, going to keep going, especially if he has a bit of success with it.
It's waiting for that person, isn't it? So that's a really interesting point, actually. So like you said, these guys here at L.A.B, they're going to start taking up more market share. So the other brands have, in the way that the golf industry works, had to respond. Everybody responds to something, don't they? So here are the responses out with us here. So you've basically done a group test of these. On that video, you did a video for it?
Yeah, we did a video in Spain.
I didn't plug this earlier. Yeah. Because I didn't plug it early enough in the last 2 episodes. The Golf with the YouTube channel will have Sam's sort of like abridged version of this sort of group test where you can see him hitting them. We're basically going to do a longer version chat about that. So I'll link that in the description so you can pause this and watch that before if you'd like. So talk us through the models we've got here and the ones you've tested, because we've got Bettinardi, the Antidote.
That's it. That's kind of the range is the Antidote. And then you've got the select models within the range.
Antidote range. Love that name. We've got, is that an even roll?
We do have even roll. Yeah.
What's that called?
So they've got S, essentially S, the number of the model it is.
Yeah.
So I think this is a 5. So an S5S. So it's, yeah.
Put a fork in me. I am done. Hire me to help you with your names, please. Cool. We've got the 2 lab models here. So that's the Oz, which is that new one.
Yeah.
Mez
1 Max there.
What's this bad boy here? This is new.
This is, for those who can't see, who are listening to us, obviously, on podcast platforms, this is the Jailbird square-to-square cruiser.
Wow. And what makes it a cruiser?
So the cruiser it's a longer length. So typically 38 or 40, I think, are the 2 offerings. Counterbalance, grip. So they're essentially throwing every bit of technology they've ever produced. That
feels like, the total smorgasbord of stuff. So is that the sort of model that Ricky and Wyndham and Keegan Bradley, not in the square-to-square, but in that head shape with a counterbalance putter one on with... Was it last year?
A couple of...
They won 3 in a row in 3
ago,
non-contracted bags that year. So this is kind of like the amalgamation of square-to-square, that counterbalance, and that brilliant Jailbird head,
plus
and the AI1.
So
that is so much stuff.
It's a lot of tech thrown into one putter. So
okay, and who else have we got? Alan?
You got Alan.
PXG
Not
Alan.
Steve, Alan.
That's how you name a golf club.
Just Alan. Throw it out there. So the name has come about, that is... so CEO of PXG, Bob Parsons, it's his brother, and
Alan.
He said along the lines, I'm paraphrasing here, that he had most fun on the golf course when he was holding putts.
Yeah.
And essentially they've designed a putter that they feel makes putting enjoyable, holding more putts, hence the name Alan.
I like
and it's
that.
fun for us to just shout around,
Alan,
isn't it?
Alan!
So
yeah, that's good stuff. So that's the range. How do you want to do this? Let's work bit by bit, shall we?
Let's go for it. Should we start with looks? Because we do that with
looks.
We just
like looks. We're superficial human beings.
We just like the way things look.
Start with your best. Start with your faves, because there's so much going on down here.
Yes.
We'll bring pictures up for those watching on YouTube, so you can see these in a bit more detail from all the angles. We'll try and describe it as best we can to those who are listening. But there's so many in the zero torque market for me. Different shapes, different styles, different finishes. It's a real attack on the senses.
Yeah, so I think it's good that there's different options out there, because there's the ability to then transition from a normal, quote unquote, normal looking putter into a zero torque putter. There was obviously some slight differences due to the fact of shaft placement.
Yeah.
A lot of them are onset.
That's what's the biggest sort of visual change, isn't it, for people being on?
It's going to take a lot getting used
putter.
to.
Yeah.
You've obviously got the Antidote mallet in your hands there.
It's a bizarre looking piece of kit. It really is.
It really just looks like a robot machined putter that it's one of those you have to look at, and it's not pretty, but you've kind of got to just trust the tech and just go,
a
look,
lot of shapes.
It's just going to work
when you're looking down. A lot of shapes,
lines.
very geometric.
Yeah.
I can't work out if I like it or not, but it's a really interesting, again, just a great example of what's going on in this space at the minute.
Exactly, yeah. So, but then obviously you've got the other model in the range there, which is much more of like a blade kind of look.
Let's have a look at this
Center shafted blade. And what I really like about that is the kind of top line above the face there.
Ah, this isn't naked.
Yeah, that is not in fact naked.
No. I've never seen a horizontal line. Normally you see not horizontal, but you see it going in line with the ball in the face. This one's going and sort of mimicking the top line.
Yeah, it just runs parallel to the face. Just
really
helps with alignment.
Centering it as well a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. And they're just beautifully milled.
Bettinardi's are,
They're just very, very good at that. And you can see on the bottom there all the different kind of patterns that they run across. And
gorgeous.
So yeah, for people who kind of want or play a blade, that could be an easy kind of switch. It's the closest thing you're likely to get. Odyssey do a double wide, which is
do they?
Like their kind of thicker blade option, but the square to square double wide they do has a much, much longer blade length than this Bettinardi.
That's really compact. I'm impressed with that.
Yeah.
It's the first sort of, like you said, blade style or answer style zero torque I've seen before.
Exactly, yeah. So
they're quite clean from Bettinardi. I don't mind them.
It's obviously you've got slightly different grips as well.
Yeah.
To help with balancing. Obviously a larger head is going to feel very head heavy if you put a somewhat of a skinny grip, hence why they've all got larger style, mid to large style grips on them. But yeah, in terms of looks, I think so. Yeah, for people who have traditionally played with a bladed putter, the Bettinardi blade style there, and then you've got this. I quite like the look of this even roll S5S.
Let's get this guy out. S5S.
Just check on the bottom for me there, Dan. I'm pretty sure it's an S5S.
Z5S.
Z5S.
Designed by Guerin
Rife. So Rife putters.
off of Rife.
Yeah, so same guy.
It's fun, isn't it? So it's the Z5S. This is like a... I'm trying to think what shape that reminds you of. It's a mid-mallet, I guess, with a big hole in the back of it.
Yeah. Yeah,
To
essentially.
really simplify it.
Well, in matter of fact, I'll try and show this to the camera here without dropping my laptop. It looks very similar to another brand and model that we kind of have down here.
It's Jailbird-esque.
Yeah.
It's Jailbird-esque.
It
for those
is.
listening. Yeah, you can picture that.
And so, yeah, obviously, sorry, the zero, not S. I'm getting my zero talks mixed up here. So this is, Z5S. So 5 being the head shape itself, 0 being, or the Z, sorry, for 0, as in zero torque.
And the S just because they fancy putting an S on the end of it.
I would imagine it's square. Yes. But you've got the 2 weight ports on the bottom here, which are interchangeable. And what's quite clever is they've got this kind of hosel system here.
Let's have a look. Oh, so is that one of those interchangeable hosels?
Yeah.
What are we doing with that?
Well, you could change head shape.
I don't mind it. It's if I was going to go zero torque, Sam, I'd want something a bit louder, a bit brasher, I think. I don't know what you think about that.
Yeah, I think it's one of those that actually it in terms of what we would call like standard putter, it's probably the closest thing. It's, CNC milled. It's silver the whole way over. I don't know how else to describe that other than it kind of looks like
it's like almost like a raw finish.
Almost looks like your standard mallet putter.
But
obviously
also
it's got
standard. It's a standard. It's not a center shaft.
No, it's a reverse plumber.
Yeah.
So an L neck would typically go the other way. We don't obviously have any here, but an L neck would essentially go this way.
Yeah.
And obviously this is coming forward out the other way.
Which gives the same effect. The PXG Allen's like that, right? It's
so they've actually got like a reverse kind of S hosel design.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So it's as similar to a standard kind of mallet as it gets, I would say. And for that reason, that might help people transition.
I think visually not seeing a center shaft, it will help some people.
Yeah,
I would guess.
But in terms of the others, obviously Lab have got the Mez and the Oz. I personally really like this new Oz 1i.
As soon as I saw this come out online, sort of pitched on Instagram, I thought now we're getting somewhere.
Yeah.
That's a really beautiful mid mallet, refined shape. Again, quite angular and finishing all black in this case. But I thought, that's nice. It's been done in conjunction with Adam Scott, right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, so he's essentially collaborated with them in order to design this. Obviously, he uses a broomstick, long sweeper kind of style putter. But yeah, you've got a couple degrees shaft lay and a 2-degree forward press grip on there. So when it's sat down at address, I just think it looks really clean. Again, we've got this like T-bar alignment aid, which I think really helps center the ball. Just makes it so easy to line up relative to where you're wanting to aim. So, and the black, you can get a choice of different shafts.
But I like it all in black.
I just think it looks great, stealthed out like that, doesn't it? So
the face insert on this one, where we haven't had that on Lab putters before, we're going to come on to that in a minute, aren't we?
Yeah,
so should we hold
we'll
that?
talk
Let's
about
hold that
that.
chat. Let's hold that chat.
It does play a part in the looks because it kind of highlights the face a bit more. So you could talk about that and how it does center the face compared to the likes of the Lab. You've got this like bar alignment aid on the top. Obviously, it's like a fang style design, which a lot of people will be familiar with, but at the same time, center shafted with onset. That's going to take a bit of getting used to.
It takes a lot of getting used to. And even that as a fang shape, it's very cubey, It's like someone's taking a big bite out of the back of it.
Yeah.
I'd almost want to see the rest of it. But, this Mez model I'm holding here and the DF3 are the kind of ones that, I'll say made Lab famous, but the DF3 especially.
It was just so
you
different,
spotted
right?
that on tour, didn't you? Or in someone's bag.
Honestly, the
It's
largest
like a branding iron.
Largest putter head ever. Massive hole in the back of it.
Yeah.
And some people like that. Ricky's actually using the DF3.
He is. Saw that yesterday. At Pebble. So that's Lab. We've dealt with them. So let's talk about Odyssey briefly on looks then. What are your... I've always loved this head shape, this Jailbird head shape.
Yeah, it's obviously been really popular since it came out. And funnily enough, Jailbird actually came out a long time ago, but it was only... it was only, I think, well, like you said, when Wyndham, Ricky and that lot put it in play with the Versa technology, that it really gained some traction because they put that new visual tech on there.
So talk about this Versa technology, because I love that as well. For those watching, it's and listening, is this blue, white stripe system going down. Does that just help you kind of keep the face a bit square?
Exactly, yeah. Alternative kind of stripe in there. Just to help with alignment. And the way the head sits as well with that kind of gap in the back, I just think that really helps frame the ball quite nicely as well. So that alongside Versa technology for face alignment, you've got the sight dots on top as well to help center the ball. Again, it's got shaft lean, and so that's something with a center shafted putter. It's going to take a bit of getting used to if you haven't played with that style putter before. But yeah, I just think it looks clean. They haven't strayed away from what's done well with the J-Elbow Versa before. They've purely just implemented that kind of center shafted, square to square technology.
Yeah, like you said, they've just covered that in tech, and it's a recognizable head shape. I definitely think if you're thinking about trying a zero torque putter or moving into one, that biggest, whatever head you go for, the biggest change is going to be the onset in some of them, the shaft lean, the center shaft. It's going to take you a while to get used to it. And I heard an interview with Sam Hahn basically saying, and you might have happened to you if you're listening or watching, when you get a new putter, it's like, honeymoon period. You're holding everything. You're thinking, brilliant, this is great. After 2 or 3 weeks, 2 or 3 rounds, it's like, okay, I'm back to normal. Like, if you putt well, you're still putting well. If you putt badly, you're back to putting badly.
Yeah.
With these guys, I think, and he said there is the opposite of a honeymoon. There's like an anti-honeymoon period where you're like, what the heck is going on here? Because the tech is so different. Did you find that when you were testing it? Was it like, hold on a second, what's going on here?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, it's so different to what I've typically used as well, with like a standard kind of
naked blades.
Naked blades. And not only have I now got a massive, for the most part, massive mallet kind of head design, I've also got a load of lines going on, and that's down to like eye dominance. I'm someone who's very right eye dominant, and I just don't lines on putters don't necessarily line up with the line on the ball for me. And that's where I really struggle. So this actually came about. This is a fun little story for the listeners and viewers here. When we were in Madeira filming some of our best of videos last Jan, and we were playing pool one evening, and Joe, the pro, was sat kind of the other side of the pool table to me, and I was down hitting a shot, trying to line up my cue with the ball to go in the pocket, essentially directly in front of him. He sat there looking at me, and he said, "Where the hell are you aiming?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" And I was like, "I'm trying to hit it in that pocket." And he apparently, I was so far out with my line because I'm going down using my right eye,
but that one's out of whack.
But it's just like linear. I don't know what the word would be.
It can't line everything up.
Yeah, I'm just not good with lines. I need to be much more creative, essentially.
Feel it.
Yeah, it's all feel for me. And so I was trying to putt this ball, and pot this ball, and I missed because naturally I just wasn't lining up where I thought I was lining up. And that comes back to putters. Looking down on a putter, the difference in not just lines in general, but whether you've got a top line or whether you've got a back line along the flange, or you've got dots, or if you have it naked.
Naked flange.
It's a naked flange. What world do we live in?
I've got the crew. I just wanted to get them laughing.
But yeah, it's that's going to
make me reconsider, because I like a lot of alignment aid on my Spider Tour X. But is it John Rahm on his little Rossi S asks for everything off, doesn't he?
Yeah.
It's clean as a whistle.
Naked.
He's naked, so he must be the same as you. Total feel.
Me and Rahm just naked,
just naked putting away.
Naked bros,
just two bros naked putting away. You know, with their Odyssey putters, just hanging out. You know. Okay, really interesting. So we've had those are the models, those are the looks. Again, very, very. We've said this on hybrids and fairways and everything we say, very subjective. This was like the most subjective one.
Yeah,
because there's so much going on.
Yeah, but if I was to pick one, I would say the L.A.B Oz. I think
that Oz is the most refined one.
Looks clean, stealthed out.
And it's cool because you've got a L.A.B in your bag.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
That mid mallet head, I just think is going to get a few more people into a L.A.B putter. So big win for them.
Spot on. Right. Okay. Let's get on to some performance then, shall we?
Sure.
Let's do feel, because these are all going to feel very different off the face because of their different build-ups, but then also kind of distance control as well. So it's a bit of performance, bit of feel here. What stood out for you and why?
Yeah, so I think sound, feel, and distance control are all in correlation with each other. We've said this about hybrids and fairwoods the last couple of weeks, but the way something sounds and feels has an impact on your perception of distance. And when putting, that's like obviously super important. So the louder this is the way I think anyway, the louder something sounds to me, the faster it feels off the face, and therefore I feel like I have to hit it less
hard. Yeah.
And we've got a few different kind of options here. You've got even roll, which I think feels superb.
And that's a milled.
Yeah, so it's CNC 303 stainless steel, and the face, and they've got this technology on here as well, which just really helps get the ball rolling quickly. So they're kind of like deep grooves.
It's quite a deep groove, isn't it?
Yeah. So, but what that does with this head build is it's kind of a weird one because they actually sound quite loud and quite tingy when you hit them. It's almost like there's not an echo, but it's quite a loud acoustic. An echo?
A what?
Echo?
3 times there, everybody. Thank you very much. Boom.
I fell into the trap.
Sorry. My dad used to do that to me as a kid. Whenever I used to say like parrot or echo or anything that repeats itself. So now I make sure to get other people.
Perfect.
On podcasts.
Back to the pod.
So there's a bit of an echo on this, is there?
I'm not going to repeat this. We're not going again. It's a strange one because it's quite a loud sound, but the feel itself feels fairly soft.
Interesting. So those are things
they kind of counteract.
They don't talk to each other too much.
No. But you've got different options here. You've got, so the L.A.B Mez one, it's kind of got this aluminum face to it, which is a much softer face than I think people probably think it's going to be.
Yeah.
I think because it's forged, it's milled, most people would associate that with a firmer feel. And
I would, looking at this block of metal it's made out of. You certainly would.
And like you said, it's angular. It looks like it's going to be firm.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's really, really soft.
Huh.
And that really took me by surprise when I first tested that. But then you throw that now to the newer model with the Oz 1. So this is the Oz 1i, hence I for insert. So they are actually...
So can you get one of these with the same as the Mez?
Yeah, so they are making one with the aluminum face.
So what's different with this insert then, feel-wise?
So it's much firmer. And again, this will fall back into people who have typically played with milled stainless steel putters. You're going to get, a sense of familiarity with the feel of this putter. This one, with how soft that face feels, it feels so different to like a milled blade that I'm used to. I felt like I had to really hit that putter.
Really whack it to get that ball going.
And it doesn't help that, it's winter in the UK right now and the greens are softer and damp.
You've got to hit them hard anyway.
Yeah, there's a lot more grass, a lot more growth. But the eye with that steel insert now makes it feel so different to the Mez. So not only do you have different head shapes now among L.A.B putters, you've got the option of the insert in this model. So that's another big win for L.A.B.
Like you said, just attracting more people into their putters and going,
well,
if you like that, there's this. If you like that, there's this. So yeah, that's a huge move there.
Yeah.
Let's talk Bettinardi. Again, these beautifully milled putters.
Milled faces again from stainless steel.
Yeah.
I would say the mallet that we've got here feels much more hollow than the blade. Obviously, you've got kind of this aluminum design behind as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of material back here.
You can definitely hear that when you're making a stroke compared to the blade, which is much more solid, as you would expect. And then you obviously go to Odyssey over here, and you've got the AI1 smart face in there. So thousands of data points collected, put into a supercomputer essentially, which has created a face with variable face thickness. And the idea behind that is that if you hit putts off the heel or the toe, you get the same ball speed, and hence your distance control is much better because it's
regardless of where you're hitting it.
Regardless of where you're hitting it.
And then has that got the white hot urethane on it as well?
Exactly.
Because I know people love that.
Exactly.
I've never played. Have I played an Aussie butter? I have. I had a white hot one back in the day. What am I on about?
So
I love the way that felt.
Yeah. So
that's
white hot is obviously probably the biggest franchise in Odyssey history, at least. And they've incorporated that. It's slightly different. It's not a flat face. It does have little grooves in it just to help that ball get rolling quicker again. But yeah, it feels much softer than obviously like a milled putter. So if you're used to that, or what I sometimes like to do is, I think why I sometimes like a softer putter is because I play a firmer feeling golf ball and they kind of counteract each other quite well. I found that if I when I do some ball testing, if I use a soft feeling putter with a soft ball, all of a sudden my distance control is well out.
Yeah.
But
It's like you're playing with sponge.
Exactly. Equally the same when I played with a milled putter and a very, very firm ball.
Yeah.
Feels like it comes off the face so fast. I'm just hitting every putt.
So it's actually then, if you're someone who prefers a firm feeling putter, you'd recommend them going for a slightly softer ball to try and have some sort of middle ground.
Obviously,
maybe.
it's personal preference,
Yeah.
and the more you practice with anything, you'll get used to it,
Yeah.
and you will become accustomed to how it comes off the face, and your distance control will improve. But yeah, if you might find it just balances them quite nicely, and from a sound point of view, that will also help as well because it won't sound too clicky or too dull.
Yeah. Interesting. So we'll chat about distance control now. We're gonna speak in a bit about sort of which of these are the best from like 5 foot and in, like the money putts, because that's where I think these come into their own. But what are these like from distance, like lag putts? Is it tough? Like I feel like these putters are brilliant inside 10 foot, 5 foot, whatever.
Yeah.
Because you can just go bang, bang with a straight back and through stroke.
Yeah.
And the ball will do its thing. What's it like from distance with these things? Is it much different to a normal putter?
No, not really. I mean, again, that I think distance comes down to feel more than stroke mechanics. Obviously, from inside, let's say inside 10 foot, where you're hoping and you're expecting, let's say, to make more putts.
Yeah.
Obviously, as soon as you kind of get out, I think the 30 foot range is where is the make percentage where it switches on the PGA Tour. So you're more likely to 3-putt than you are 2-putt from 30 30 plus feet.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And so let's go from 30 to 50 feet.
Sure.
At that point, it's all about feel, right? You're not lining up triple breaking putts down a 15-foot slope and expecting to hold it.
Yeah.
And so it's all about feel at that point, and that comes back to different faces and which ones you prefer.
Which one? So what for you is that? What's
for me? The L.A.B Golf Oz or the even roll.
Yeah.
Two kind of stainless steel milled faces. That's a sense of familiarity. Playing a milled putter for most of my life. I'm used to how that feels coming off the blade. I can completely understand. I struggled with the Mez. And then we've got the Jailbird Cruiser here. And that's interesting because from a distance control point of view, you've then got to factor in, you're using what is a heavier putter. In a counterbalance design, so you don't necessarily feel it that much heavier because the weight is evenly distributed. But that's something, just the swing of a longer putter with the grip that obviously comes up past where your hands are set, that's something that takes a lot of getting used to. But
that's interesting. Can I take a small sidetrack here? Why would somebody be, again, we've spoke about how tech-packed this square-to-square cruiser is. Why would somebody be after a square-to-square zero torque putter with all that counterbalance? What kind of person is after this, do you think? What kind of mental person needs that? What kind of weirdo needs this?
Well, it's one of those, again, that comes back to feel. So head preference, whether you prefer a heavier feeling putt, it depends on what kind of putts you struggle with, I think. So a lot of the time, a heavier feeling putter, it's harder to close the face with a heavier head, essentially. And so I think people who struggle with like a quick pull or someone who gets their hands involved too quickly might benefit from like a cruiser, especially with like the thicker grip. It will kind of take your wrists out a little bit more.
Quiet that all down.
And just that longer length, I don't know what it is. When it sits in your hands, it just feels like you can rock your shoulders much more than control the putter face with your hands. So
interesting.
It's relative, but from a distance control standpoint, I personally found a milled putter face was just a bit easier to control. I know AI1, the idea behind the face is, consistent ball speed and obviously therefore distance control. And in all fairness, square to square is offered obviously in your standard length.
Right.
So you've got your 30, I don't know what rate they range from, 33 to 36 potentially.
Yeah.
Obviously you can chop that down or put a butt in either end to lengthen it as well. But I just, as a guy who's always played a mill putter, the softer face for me, I just struggle with a little.
But again, if someone's coming into this putter range having been using inserts,
maybe you've used an Odyssey AI1 already,
and
you just want square to square technology, then obviously that's a very easy transition.
Tough one to judge that. Okay, cool. So why don't we do like alignment? because it's all very different. And again, this will be your preference, but talk through the sort of pros and cons of, we've got a barring across the top line, we've got a T-bar, we've got what Versa is, we've got whatever this thing is from on the Antidote, this sort of like you've got spear. I don't know, you could hurt somebody with that. So what was your preference when you got these out on the greens?
I found I guess this kind of links into what we'll talk about after is like best from 5 foot, because I feel like these are the most important ones to line up. Like we just said, the longer the putt, the more it goes down to feel, as opposed to obviously aim is still important, but you're not necessarily lining up putts from 50 feet. That's just about getting the tempo and the stroke right. Short putts, obviously you want to set it up relative to where you're aiming, whether that's a breaking putt or you're just aiming straight at the hole on a straighter putt. It's interesting that each one of these offers something completely different. You've got the Bettinardi here. You've obviously got a line on the flange at the back, but you do have this kind of parallel line to the face on the top.
I've not seen something like that before. I'm going to bring a picture up because I'm able to see that. I've not seen one like that before.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Never seen one like that. It's just like making the top lines, like going, here's the top line. Yeah. Again. I quite like it.
What is quite interesting is then the other model offers a top line, but you've also got these two parallel lines running behind it to create this kind of trident look. And I think that works quite well with the larger mallet head.
Yes.
I find that very easy to align. I don't necessarily think the blade with this parallel line by itself is that easy to align. It helps center the ball, but which might help with consistent strike. But in terms of actual alignment, I didn't find it worked as well.
Because they've put this line on the back of here, on the back of the blade, but that's interrupted by where the shaft enters. So
exactly.
I struggle to use that line at all. I use that front line, I like that. That would help me keep the face square, which is important on a putter like this. But I'd struggle with alignment with the ball there, being interrupted.
Obviously the line at the flange is then so far away from, let's say you put a line on the ball.
It's miles away from it.
Trying to
There's
line
so much
those
going on
up
in between that.
Yeah,
it would be hard to. That's an interesting observation.
And we'll just kind of go down the line.
Sure.
But the even roll Z5S has got the two kind of dots on there that even roll have done for quite a long time now, which I think is quite clever. Centers the ball quite nicely.
It's very subtle because there's no paint fill on them. They're just two dots on the top line.
So I think you can kind of take or leave it. Like you don't, because they're not filled in.
Use them.
You almost don't
use
really
them if you want
notice
to.
them. Exactly.
If you don't, you can barely see them. And then there's a line behind them. Yeah.
And I think this kind of cavity in the back here where it drops back frames the ball really nicely as well.
Yeah.
So I found that to be quite easy to align. You've got a lot going on. Ooh. Move on to the labs.
That's a dent.
Is the chair okay? Move on to the labs. So the Oz is interesting because
T-bar.
Yes, it is a T-bar, but it's almost like a reverse T-bar than what most people are probably used to. So we've seen T-bar alignment aids on. I've seen them on tour with spiders quite a lot, but it went the other way. So the line essentially came out the top of the face, and then you had the T that ran across the back. Whereas this time you've obviously got the parallel line like we see on the Bettinardi with the line coming out the back, which I think is quite clever because I think that really helps not just square the face, but you're also, like you said, there's nothing then in between.
There's no interruption. So that line, that parallel line with the top line allows you to keep that face square, and then that line running outwards is
they're thin enough lines that it will still almost look like it just joins onto the ball anyway.
Correct. It's all close enough to where the action is for that to work really well.
And
I do like that.
And you've got these, it's like a beautiful mixture of like straight and curved lines on the back of the head as well.
I love how they've sort of, it's not mill, but they've got etchings in the back of it here. There's loads of texture going on top of his head that just, I don't know. It is a really gorgeous putter head. This is the first time I've seen it in person, and I am really impressed.
I think every person who I've shown this putter to loves it. And they all feel like this is the best looking out of
it's Lab's best
the
work,
Lab range,
without a doubt. So it's gone to the Mez, which I guess is a bit more controversial.
Yeah, much more.
If a putter can ever be controversial,
yeah, it's much more linear in its approach. Obviously, you've got this kind of subtle etching across the whole way across the top of the face, which only helps with squaring that face up. You've got this like bar kind of block with a singular line running through it, which I quite like. It's a bit. It does take a bit of getting used to.
It doesn't do much for me,
but. Again, but that's the point, right? This is a matter of personal preference.
Putter is so feels and vibe. Out of all the clubs we talk about on this show, putters is feels and vibes. So it's kind of like
feels and vibes, baby.
Feels and vibes, baby. Yeah, not for me that one personally. And then let's talk. I love Versa and the sort of the way these putter heads, whether you go for the cruiser one or not, the way this lines up, I think is just awesome.
Yeah, and I have to say, where the cruiser does come into that is being really deliberate with your setup. And you look at someone like Jason Day, he's so deliberate when he walks into a golf ball, especially with his putting. So he'll have his hand on his left leg to keep his kind of body relaxed and keep his shoulders level.
Yeah.
And he'll just have one hand on the putter and set it up with one hand until it's bang on line with where he wants his line on the ball. And then he'll take his grip and he won't move from there. That face is then locked in square.
That's exactly what he wants.
And I found that so easy with this putter because of the weighting of it. It was so easy to just set down behind the ball and square up and then just add my other hand and go. So
interesting.
If you do struggle with alignment,
it's a good one.
The counterbalance is very much a case of feel, but it's almost like helping with alignment without meaning to.
Yeah, it's giving you a bit of a helping hand. And if you don't like that, you can get the Jailbird Versa in all sorts of different forms.
And they've just released a new Versa kind of pattern way with Jailbird where the block of color actually runs perpendicular to the face. So it runs down the fangs almost, and then the center sections here are white with the fangs as blue.
Interesting.
So it's something different. Again, someone wanting something to look slightly different, or just the way they see things. There's loads of options out there.
Yeah.
So
one thing I don't like, and I never have on any alignment aid, is 3 dots on the top line for alignment. I just make that one thick line.
It's
Why are
an
they
odd
dots for?
choice. I don't know. Again, could be a thing that people. So I understand why people have singular dots if they're just not linear people. Like I've used single dots in the past. It helps you with centering the ball still without intruding,
over giving it. Yeah, okay, that's
on a
fair.
line. But as for 3 dots, I don't know.
So many options on alignment, it's crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
So loads of options there, as I've just said. So let's talk about where these bad boys come into their own, I guess. Inside 5 feet, 10 feet? No, 5 feet. Like the money putts.
The ones that you don't want in a match.
The ones you don't want, and the ones if you hold a handful off, you come off the course feeling like a god.
Yeah.
And you're
feel like you can't miss.
Oh God, I'm good. It helps your score just...
People underestimate
crazily
how, every shot counts the same. So like smashing a drive down the fairway counts just as much as the 2-footer you've got on the green. And they're all as important. And these are the easier ones to, inside 5 foot, they're the easier shots. Like they shouldn't be the nervy ones because they're like the easier shots you get really. You're closest to the hole. Less can go wrong.
But in your head, you're like...
But it's almost... It's that case of like... being embarrassed that you're going to miss it. I think people think so much about what they'll look like if they miss the short part. More than this should be quite simple. Like I should just be knocking these in.
I'd love to. If I could pick like one asset, it would be just being lethal inside.
Yeah,
6,
it'd be
7,
amazing,
8,
wouldn't it?
5 feet. I just feel amazing. So before we come on to these individually, what is your experience of using a zero torque putter like inside 5 foot versus a traditional putter? Have you seen a noticeable difference?
With certain models.
Okay, interesting.
Specifically coming from like a bladed head,
right,
going to something that's obviously much larger in profile. A lot of them have a lot of alignment going on, which helps with setting up, like we just talked about in the kind of alignment section. A lot of them help them from inside 5 feet. A lot of the time you're not hitting putts that are, unless you're playing on some seriously quick greens or really slopey greens, a lot of putts from inside 5 feet are within the hole. And there's been a lot of talk about this recently. I've seen online about what's a ball outside.
I saw that.
Does that start from the center of the hole? Does it start from the lip of the hole? Or is it halfway? Or whatever way you want to look at it. I feel like, inside 5 feet, the majority of putts are within a ball, even outside of the hole. So
surely these things should come into their own then, because as long as you can put a square stroke on it.
Just far more stable.
Yeah.
Obviously, the shorter the putter stroke, because you're inside 5 foot, means you would want less rotation anyway, because you don't have the time to square it back up. So that's really interesting. And I found them to be worth their while from inside 5 foot for that reason.
So there you go. I think if you're listening or watching and you are one of those yippy guys inside those, inside that, this could be one for you. So which of these stood out then?
For me, both L.A.Bs.
Yeah.
I just found them brilliant, specifically because of their kind of alignment aids, but also the one that was just absolute money was the square to square cruiser.
Was it really?
It just, like I said, you can be so much more deliberate with that longer grip, and the weighting of it just means you can just set it in place and you don't have to worry about twitching your hand and it's going to move too much. And you just place the other hand on and rock the shoulders. And while it would take a bit of getting used to from a distance control point of view because of its length, from inside 5 foot, it was just so solid.
Money. Yeah. And was that, I mean, I know Best and Hardy and Evo are fairly new to this. These guys obviously gone hard on their square to square range, and Lab have obviously been the guys. These feel like the ones that are, if you are going to go into this, I'd be looking at them.
Yeah, I mean, you've got, if you wanted something, so a lot of these have actually short sight lines on the top. Obviously, we've got the Bettinardi here, which has kind of the 2 lines that run further back on the mallet. But the PXG Allen does have a big titanium bar at the back with a singular sightline that runs the whole way. And it's the longest sightline out of any of these putters.
Yeah.
So if you're someone who does love a sightline and naturally uses that religiously, that's a good putter to consider. But it's just interesting. They as much as they're all abiding by the same technology, they all look so different, and they've all got such different sight mechanisms on them. So that's where it does come down to personal preference.
And like we said, putting and putters are the most personal thing, I think.
Yeah.
So to sum up then, Sam, what's the winner? Again, people would have seen this if you watched the video he did, but what's the like?
So as much as I think, like I said, Lab are really driving this kind of zero torque sphere. They're the ones who I think are going to keep. It'll be interesting to see if the other brands keep creating more, because, like we said earlier, Lab, that's the only thing they do.
Yeah.
So they're naturally,
and they've got, I think, 70 or 80 employees just looking at
design, new models.
Whereas Odyssey's part of Callaway. Odyssey have other putters to make.
Yeah,
I also think for Odyssey, do you not think this is cannibalizing some of their other work? They're coming out saying like, gosh, Square to Square is brilliant. What a putter series we've made.
Yeah.
Hold on, we've got 80 other putter models on the shelf here to choose from.
It's a strange one, isn't it? I don't know if Odyssey are just riding the wave with popularity at the moment, and it's a craze, and you know they'd be stupid to not jump on
100%,
because there's obviously a demand for it. You've seen a few tour guys kind of testing square to square, putting those in place, so there is a demand for it, and they've jumped on that, like you said. But they do have loads of other models. You know, a lot of players just still either don't believe in the technology or just can't get on with the looks, don't really like how it looks. They want something traditional still. Yeah. Obviously, you've got so many different neck styles and stuff with other standard models like plumber's necks, slant necks, double bend, single bend, even center shafted that isn't zero torque. And I know we'll talk about that on a different pod. We'll go into other putter models, but there's so much out there that they've got to concentrate on. Lab, it's the only thing they do.
Yeah.
So they're naturally going to keep producing models. But when it came to all-round performance, I would say the square-to-square cruiser Jailbird for me was just, it was so solid in every area that was really hard to fault.
Yeah, like you said, because it's so packed full of tech. We've got that Versa that we really enjoy. We've got that AI1 insert that we really enjoy. They've really kind of gone, this is the best of us.
And like even the shaft. Like you've got the Stroke Lab.
The Stroke Lab shaft, we've spoken about that.
So you've got weighting technology literally in every single part of this club, plus the fact that it's so solid from inside 5 foot that you can this sounds ridiculous, but you can almost allow for a bit of poor distance control if you feel so confident on the 5 footers anyway.
Because if you get yourself within, if you're 50 foot away and you get yourself within that 5 foot
circle,
dustbin lid,
you feel like you're going to hold it, then all of a sudden 2-putting becomes a lot easier anyway.
Yeah.
Whereas maybe some of the other models just weren't quite as solid from inside that 5 foot range. And no matter how good your distance control is, if you're still a bit nervy on your 3.5, 4 footers, then
I wonder how many of them I get around. I might make a note of that next time I play. Like, how many times have I stood over that 4 or 5 foot putt and maybe
which one do you think is?
I'd be in this Lab Oz at the drop of a hat is the phrase, because love the shape.
Yeah,
I've probably been sat next to Joe for too long, but I'm also
there's some
bought in.
serious influences.
These are, you know, they're hand balanced by the team at Lab. I feel like you said, it's the only thing they do. It would be quite cool to have in the bag, but taking all that kind of superficial stuff away
Lab,
from it,
if you're watching,
yeah. Make a left-handed one, Lab. I bet you do. I love the shape. I think I'll prefer the insert a little bit more. That's the one I would go for. I've not The one time I've hit a zero torque putter was on the Cobra Press trip in October. One of the lads who was on the trip was left-handed, and Cobra failed to bring any left-handed putters out for a putting competition we were doing. Luckily, he had his L.A.B. It was the DF3.
Okay.
It was on the green at night. It was dark.
Could you see the putter?
Loads of dew had fallen. I had a couple of beers and I putted terribly with it. So I don't want that to be my only judgment on it. But that's the one I'd go for. I do love, I'm not a blade guy. I think that's a beautiful putter. I think that's a beautiful piece of craftsmanship. I wouldn't use it.
Yeah. And that's
because I don't like blades.
That's why from a look
answer
standpoint, you know.
I've always been a mallet guy. So I'd go for that. But I wouldn't go for the cruiser myself. But I would like to try a square to square. What's that head again? Jailbird. That isn't the cruiser. Because again, I think speaking to you and hearing your stuff there, it's really interesting. But let us know what you think, because you're the reason we're here. Yeah. Do you have one? Do you use one? Do you like them?
Have you noticed a significant performance increase in your putting? Let us know down below, because I would like to know, as someone who tests these putters and tests every putter that comes through my door.
Yeah.
I can often be a bit overwhelmed because I'm testing.
You're going putter,
you know, and not just zero torque. I'm testing all these other models, and I find data when I'm jumping around putters so much, it's sometimes quite hard to pinpoint which ones are excelling in performance.
Yeah, we've had a few comments actually recently. Again, thank you for them just saying, "Oh, I got fitted for this, got fitted for that. I love the Elite Triple Diamond, the QI35." We love to hear that kind of feedback from real people in the fitting studios, right? Getting these clubs fitted for them. It helps us understand a bit better, you know, what's going down well. So let us know if you're using any of these, or if you think it's a bunch of hogwash.
Could be.
Which I doubt. Are they going to hang around, Sam? Is this startup going to hang around?
Like
is it here to stay?
It'll be interesting. L.A.B, yes.
Yeah.
Like we said, it's the only thing they do. It'll be interesting to see if the others gain enough. It would be interesting to see come the end of the year with the brands that have introduced zero torque putters into their lineup, whether they feel like their market share in sales with their zero torque models outweighs the others, and obviously that will then influence whether they keep going on this or whether they feel like there's other manufacturers out there that are just taking it, who are too strong. So it'll be interesting. I do think they'll stay around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one to watch. And for the gearheads like us out there, it's fun to have something new and exciting to talk about, isn't it? Otherwise, we'd be out of a job. So that's that. Again, questions, comments, kickpointpodcast@futurenet.com, or in the YouTube comments, or DM us on Instagram. For some reason, you can comment on Spotify. That's a thing in podcasts.
I think that's a new thing.
Yeah,
right?
Don't get us out. I'm not checking that, so don't talk to us on there.
YouTube and Instagram.
We're active.
We're hot on it.
We're hot. Okay, it's time, Sam. You've been really good at this, by the way, so well done. Sing along at home if that's what you're into. It's time for our favourite part of the show. It's Ask the Pod. Ready? No. Ask the Pod. Ask the Pod. Ask the Pod. Ask the Pod. Thank you.
Once more.
Johnny Ria. Yeah, one more. No more. Thank you, production team, doing a wonderful job again on our favourite part of the show, which is Ask the Pod. It's our favourite part because we get to hear from you, and then you get to have your questions answered on here. We've had some really good ones in recently, so if you sent us one on whatever platform, they all get looked at, and we've just got a nice little backlog of them in a minute. Which is
going to keep going.
Great for the content. So they'll be coming at some point. But this week it's the turn of Luke Withy or Withy, who knows? It's a bit of a long one, this, but a really interesting one. So I've been playing golf with my secondhand starter set, 1990s Tommy Armour 855s. I've never hit a Tommy Armour club.
We're going back a few years.
What the heck? I'm going to quickly Google this. I should have done this before we start. What is Tommy Armour? Oh, he was a golfer. Shows this is probably terribly out of touch for me. He was a golfer and they made some golf clubs. Okay, wonderful. They sound old to me, Sam, and that's fine.
I think typically as well, you look back at golfers who have made golf clubs. History hasn't been kind.
No, the Ben Hogans in the world.
You've got your Jack Nicklaus. Was Ben Ross a golfer?
He could have been.
He could have been. We don't even know that, do we? But it's no. They're not. necessarily well established.
I'd make a few nice. If I was a golfer retired, I'd make a few nice apparel brands.
Yeah,
I wouldn't make a set of golf clubs next to my name. Anyway, but Sam, the set is 3 to sand wedge, which is also quite interesting. For around a year now, and he started recording a handicap recently, which is high to mid 20s. I went for a fitting, which was very good and covered all the things you've mentioned. Good work, Luke, such as a brand agnostic fitter with multiple shaft options, the lie angle with the sticker rather than the board. Don't like the board. And he ended up in the Ping i530s. We mentioned them last week, actually, didn't we? They're getting a lot of love, which is a fantastic feeling and the most consistent of the 8 heads I tested. Goodness me.
He was there for a while.
Ooh, that's a testing session.
You hit some balls.
He also tested some traditional game improvements, but the final 3 ended up being the i530, the ZX4s, guessing that was last year's. It could be the new ones, and some Mizunos. That's a nice little threesome. That Ping, Strixon, and Mizunos, classy. The problem I have with pulling the trigger, other than saving it the money, is envisaging, the sets around these irons. The 6-iron loft in the i530s is close to the 4-iron in my current set. That will happen on a set that's now 30 years old, won't it? I never use the 3-iron in my current set, but the 4 is a staple, which I hit well. Try the i535 iron and hit it well, but won't leave me much space at the top of my bag for woods and hybrids. Equally, and this is I'll say this in a minute, I'll finish the question. Equally, the pitching wedge is 42 degrees and the utility is 47, which may push me to a 52, 58 combo, but I love my 56, using that for chipping around the green. I'm really struggling to see how a set would be put together here. I realise it's all about distance gapping, but do I end up with 5 wedges and accept the pitching wedge as essentially a 9-iron? Do I sacrifice a 5-iron to go with woods and hybrids? Right. This is a bag. It's a long one. Thank you, though, Luke. We like the detail. I've always said that.
Yeah. More detail is better than less detail.
Always. Okay. This is basically a bag setup question, isn't it? Which I really enjoy getting into, especially when you're coming from 3 to sand wedge. Is how many? Is that 10 irons? Yeah, I think it's 10 irons.
Yes, in where are we there? 35-year-old.
Yeah.
Set of
so
irons.
We're coming into something totally new here, and the key thing here, I think Luke's got a bit hung up on what the old irons said on the bottom and what the new irons say on the bottom.
Yeah.
Are we both in agreement here that get yourself into that fitting again, Luke, get your gapping right, forget what's on the bottom?
Yeah, literally the number on the sole means nothing. Like, obviously Joe, just before hurting his back, maybe why he hurt his back, was playing a round of golf with Bryson's actual backup clubs, right?
That's on the Golf Winter YouTube channel, by the way. Please go and watch that. It's really good stuff.
It's brilliant. I believe you were playing with him.
I played with him. It was a very fun day of golf.
Exactly.
Yes.
But so these irons, for instance, I think he said the 5-iron was 17 degrees of loft,
which is a 2-iron,
right? For like most people, but this proves that Bryson, the number on the bottom is purely irrelevant. In fact, it would actually be better if, I think, manufacturers just put the loft on the bottom rather than what club it is.
I would. What's the word I'm after?
Love.
Petition hard for that.
Okay.
I would rally right behind that.
Yes.
If there was some sort of rally for that, I'd be at the front. I'd organise it.
I think you might be the only one.
Yeah, but we need, like, why?
But it should be a thing.
It should be a thing. It should totally be a thing.
It would stop. And I'm not saying Luke's wrong for this, because a lot of people do this. A lot of people get caught up on, what it would drastically do is reduce egos. When you step onto a par 3 and someone asks what club you've hit, and you say 8-iron,
you're like,
so they might try and pull the same club, but you could be working with completely different sets of irons. If someone's using a blade with traditional loft, which I'd imagine these irons are probably old school traditional lofts.
Yeah. Sounds like it, isn't it?
We're talking, like 4 to 5 degrees difference per club, like, for the most part, especially from those irons to a hollow kind of cavity back iron of today. So we're seeing quite a big difference. God, what would my advice be?
Don't worry about it. Go and get the gapping with, if you really like the i530s, go and get that gapping with the i530s.
Yeah.
What I think may have happened here is he really likes his current 4-iron. So he's thinking, I need a 4-iron in my new set. But that 4-iron would be like a 2-iron in the Tommy Armour set, right?
Yeah.
So your 5-iron in the i530s will become your old 4-iron.
Once you get used to how far they go,
It doesn't matter.
it
then, does
really
it?
won't matter.
As long as you're
And-
hitting them well and striking them well, as we spoke about in the hybrids episode.
Exactly.
Make sure there's good gapping between your 6 and 5, and that
Yeah.
those do separate jobs. So I would therefore say to Luke, to build his bag, can the 4-iron off, and definitely the 3-iron. I'd go for a 5 to pitching wedge set.
Yeah, so it's saying his pitching wedge on this
42
set
degrees.
was 42, which is stupidly strong.
So maybe take the UW, the U wedge that comes with ping, and maybe get
yeah, so that's
5 to utility is 7 irons. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 pitch. UW
so
wedge.
he's got then 7 clubs to play with.
So we've got putters and 8. Oh no, let's do his wedges first. So
Yeah.
he was worried about having too many wedges. I think you can carry the wedge and the utility in the set as part of the I-530 set. And then what do you reckon, Sam? 2 or 3 specialists?
That's kind of dependent. So Luke's here said he pretty much exclusively uses a 56. And while that might be the case right now, because he's he's a mid, what did he say? Mid to high 20s. Yeah. So he's around a year now. So he's new to the game. His technique, his ability is going to keep improving. And as he improves, in order to help him improve and shoot lower scores, he's going to need a bit more creativity around the greens. So as much as he loves that 56, I would go his 42, put in the U wedge at 47.
Mm-hmm.
He could then probably go 52,
Yeah.
56 as his 2.
Yeah, I would.
Keep the 56 that he's got now.
If you love
that's
56,
what he likes,
keep the 56.
Exactly. So go 52, 56. We're at
Oh, so it was
count
7.
now.
It was 7
Putter.
up to your thing. 52, 56, 10. So we've now got 4 clubs to build at the top of the bag. That's loads of room.
Do we not need to put a putter in there?
That's 10. That's your 10.
That was with putter?
Yeah, 7 irons, 2 wedges.
Okay,
Putter's 10.
perfect. So now we've got, like you said, 4 clubs.
Driver is obviously 1.
So you could.
Now we've got, oh my God, 3 clubs at the top of the bag.
So I think what's brilliant there is he can then go driver, again, 3 wood, but it doesn't have to be a 3 wood. It could
might
be
be
a
a
4 wood.
5.
It could be whatever fits. I would say hybrid or lofted fairway wood.
Yeah.
Because I think that's definitely the space that Luke fits into right now.
So,
Probably
yeah,
lofted fairway wood. A 9 or a 7 wood might be good.
I recommend a 7 wood to every person I see on the street. Whether they play golf or not.
And then we've got the option if the gapping then between the 5 and the 7 wood is too far, we can chuck in a extra utility or even a 9 wood.
Mm-hmm.
Or we can then go and chuck in a 58 or a 60.
Get yourself down the end of the bag.
And sharpen up the short game. So
that sounds like a nice setup to
the
me.
options
So maybe even just go for
endless.
13 to start. I don't know if he's upgrading his woods or not, but go driver, some sort of 3 wood, 5 wood, whatever, a high lofted fairway wood or a hybrid. So then there's 3 at the top.
Then we can go straight to
7 wedges. No, sorry, 7 wedges.
We've gone one extreme to the other. We don't need 7 wedges, Luke.
7 irons. So, okay, 3 at the top. 7 irons,
7
which
irons.
includes a pitching wedge and a U wedge. 2 wedges,
Yeah.
specialist, and a putter makes 13.
Yeah.
So then your 14th club, when you're ready, can either be another something at the top of the bag if you're
Yep.
feeling a bit lost up there, or if you really fancy it,
Yeah.
a nice lob wedge.
Yeah.
That's a good setup right there.
I think we've fixed it.
I think it's all about, for Luke here, getting the old lofts of his Tommy Armour set out of his head. I know you loved your 4-iron, but you keep it, frame it, do whatever you need with it, and just accept that that's now a 5-iron probably.
Yeah, and like we said, ignore once he gets familiar with how far the new clubs are going. You won't remember the old set. You'll be so pleased with
Tommy,
new
yeah.
technology. You will be so pleased, Luke. Honestly, that you have upgraded. There'll be so much more forgiveness. You'll gain distance just naturally.
Exactly.
But also, I think one thing to take into consideration: they are stronger lofts, but with the technology put in today's game improvement / mid handicapper irons, with CG placement and MOY, they are stronger, but they're not going to necessarily launch lower. They've been designed in this way to promote high launch. So you're still going to get the high
even
carry.
go as high or even
They'll probably
higher.
go higher and carry further anyway. So it's a win-win.
Yeah, the benefits are non-ending.
Yeah, it's definitely one to bite the bullet and go for that.
Go
new set.
for it. So I think it sounds like obviously you got to save the money to do that, don't we all, when we buy new stuff? So get that done. But I hope that's helped you envisage what a set looks like. So when you're ready to go make that purchase, you can pull the trigger with some real confidence that the clubs are right for you, which your fitter sounds like you sorted out, and that the gapping, once you get that right, is about the same as well. And there's loads of scope for the way you can build your bag. I think with that 5 to utility wedge, and then around that, as we've just suggested.
Exactly.
I'm enjoying these. I like the one we did a couple of weeks ago. I like diagnosing people's issues. It's when we get
free reign at just creating someone's bag, isn't it?
So it's fun. It's like
granted, we don't have to pay for the product, but
that's probably why this sort of rush I'm getting off. It's like we've got everything anyway.
It's everything we would do.
But we're obviously in a very privileged position to be able to do all that. We are. That was Ask the Pod. Thank you very much, Luke. And if you would like a question answered just like that, give us as much detail as possible, whether it's about your bag setup or
what clubs may suit your game.
And then send us a swing picture or some. We had a guy called Harvey email in a few weeks ago, about a month ago now, with like pictures of his swing and his track mandate. All of that stuff helps us give better answers. So whack it in there.
Be more like Harvey.
Be like Harvey.
Be like Harvey.
Be like Harvey. And that's it, Sam.
Perfect.
That's it. Your little run's over. Your little 3-week stint. Did you enjoy it?
I did. It was good fun. It's big fan of the pod, big listener of the pod myself.
First time, long time listener, first time co-host.
I've obviously I hopefully have filled in
superb
for Joe.
My brain's popping today because we've done that all in one sitting, and I've got so much golf information in my brain now.
Exactly, and we've given, like we said, the categories that I specialize in. Hopefully we've given a better overview and showcase some more product that maybe hasn't been talked about so much on the pod.
Exactly.
Joe will obviously resume normal service.
Normal service will be resumed.
He'll come back in. I'll be referenced, back to
sort of spoken about, but at least you know who he is now, right? Which is good.
Face to the name. And I'm sure I'll be back when maybe a major launch around one of my categories comes back round.
We need you back for the rest of putters.
We will do the rest of putters
and wedge chat. We need good wedge chat at some point.
There hasn't really been much going on in the wedge space.
They don't all come out at once like drivers. They just
they're kind of sporadic throughout the year. So maybe when I get a bit more of an understanding as to when some launches might be coming, we can pencil something in and
sit down.
When a few wedges have come out, we'll maybe put them to the test and see what's going on.
Good work. Well, thank you very much, Sam, for filling in and being such an excellent co-host.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks for having me.
We'll see you again very soon. And thank you to you, the listener, the viewer, whatever you are over there. Thank you for joining us. I don't know what's coming next week because I've not planned it yet. So everyone's in the dark. Where are we? It's the end of Feb.
Joe... Apart from Joe being back.
Joe will be back. Oh, we've got the PXG secret weapon we want to talk about. I think there's some new tailor-made irons that have come out. That might have broken an embargo. Who knows? But we'll be back next week for much more of the same. Sam, thank you very much. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. See you next time.